So we have completed on our integers foldable, compare and order, adding integers. So today we're going to add to our foldable, subtracting integers. So I've left myself some space here because I've got some things I'm going to put there later. So again, we're going to use the number line and we're going to use counters to help us subtract integers. So with counters, what if we had 3 take away 1? So we start with 3 counters, we take away 1, and you know that your answer is 2 because that's what you have remaining. What if I had instead -4 and I want to take away a -1. Take away a -1 and I have -3 remaining. Not so bad. We encounter a problem when we have something like this, where we have a -1, and this tells us to take away 3 positives. I don't have 3 positives to take away. So what we're going to do is we're going to add zeros, 0 pairs. So I've added a red and a yellow. They make 0, so I still have a -1 value. I still don't have 3 positives to take away. I've added another 0 pair, 1 red and 1 yellow. So altogether I've added 2 0 pairs. So this is still a value of 0 here. The value of this is still -1. It has not changed. I still do not have 3 positives to take away. So I add another 0 pair to the mix. Now I have 3 positive yellow counters that I may take away. So I mark those out, and I am left with 4 reds, which would indicate that my answer to -1 minus 3 is -4. What if I had this? What if I had 3 minus 11? 3 looks like that. I do not have 11 pieces to take out of that. So again, I repeat the process where I add 0 pairs, until I have enough to take away, enough of the number that I'm trying to take away. Okay, so stop right there and count. How many yellow counters do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't have enough yet. That will be 8. There's 9. 10. 11. So now I can stop adding 0 pairs because I have an 11 total yellow positive counters. So this value of this so far is still 3 because all of these are opposites. They're 0 pairs, so all I've done is add 0 to the 3. Now I have 11 yellow counters to take away, so I'm going to take those out. And then I count what is remaining. I am left with 8 red counters, so that means my answer to the difference to 3 minus 11 is -8. Okay. So if you do not have what you need to take away, you're going to add 0 pairs, until you can take away the second number. I'm going to abbreviate that for number. And then your leftovers, I call them the leftovers, are your answer. So let's move on to using the number line. Let's draw us a little bitty number line right here. Zeros in the middle, positive numbers to the right. Negative numbers to the left. Okay, now for adding integers on the number line, we move to the right. But if we if we subtract integers, that tells us we're going to go to the left, right? Okay, so let's look at that. Let's experiment. 4 minus 2. If I start at 4 and I subtract 2, 1, 2, then I get 2. So we move left because we're subtracting. Okay? So what if I had -3 and I wanted to subtract a -1? Just kidding. Let's try +1 first. If I have -3 and I subtract 1, then I'm going to end up at -4. Now, here's where it gets a little dicey, because subtract in negative, it also means the opposite, because subtract is the opposite of add, and negative is the opposite of positive. We got minus and take away. These are all the things that that symbol could stand for, could represent. So if we were to start at -2 and I wanted to take away a -4. So if I started at -2, subtract would say do the opposite of add, move to the left. However, I've got to do the opposite of that because I've got a second negative here. So I'm actually going to move to the right because I have those two negatives together. So move 1, 2, 3, 4, and we actually end up at +2 there. Let's try that one more time. What if I were at 0 and I wanted to subtract a negative 5. Start at 0. Subtract would indicate I do the opposite of add. So I should move to the left. But because I have that second negative right next to that subtract, it says do the opposite of that subtract. So I'm going to move to the right instead. 5 spaces. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I end up, I'm out of space right there. That equals 5. So, first number is your starting point. Subtract means to move to the left. Here's where it gets possibly confusing here. Let's say this is 3a. If that second number is positive, then you're still going to move left. But what if that second number is negative? If that second number is negative, then you actually move right that many spaces. And then wherever you end up, landing spot is your answer, your difference. So on the front, this is if you're subtracting a negative here. This one is if you're subtracting a negative. Subtracting a positive, you're going to move to the left. Subtracting a negative, you're going to move to the right. So our lyrics for subtracting integers to row, row, row your boat. Add, 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 and keep the first, and add follow the rules for adding integers. Then you'll be so glad. And our finishing touch here, which will make more sense later, is I'm going to put some stamps here. So be sure to leave me some room to put some stamps right there. That's all we have for today. Thanks for listening.